This is episode 1 of WrestleFolks, the podcast. My name's Thomas Green. You can find me on Twitter at NotThatTomGreen. But we're not here to tweet, we're here to talk some wrestling. America's finest art form, in my opinion, professional wrestling, can be enjoyed by just about anyone. Most wrestling podcasts, you have, hardcore fans talking to hardcore fans, or professional wrestlers talking to fans, or journalists, or promoters and such. More than likely, you will never hear a promoter, a journalist, a wrestler, any of them on this show. Pretty much, if your qualification for being on this show is exclusively wrestling related, you probably will never be a guest on the show. No offense, it's just not what I'm aiming for. What I'm aiming for with this show is finding people who love wrestling, but aren't necessarily OMG 24/7 365 all up in pro wrestling, if that makes sense. And my first guest on WrestleFolks, the podcast, I think is very much exemplary of what I want to do with the show. The guests I want to find and I want to talk to on the show. His name's Rob Fee. He's a writer and contributor for Mandatory.com. He's done some stand-up in the past. He's done some stuff for FunnyOrDie.com. And the factoid that has my mom the most excited is that he's a writer-producer for the Ellen DeGeneres Show. 5 days a week in syndication. Check that out, if you haven't, like the millions of Americans who already watch the show. Rob's a big wrestling fan. We had a great conversation about all sorts of things. Remember that time that Randy Pee Wee Anderson, the referee from WCW, got knocked out with a golf ball live on Nitro? Rob's got the story behind that because he was the guy behind it. Plus, we talk about all sorts of silly Sting facts and so much more. Before we get to that conversation, though, I do want to let you guys know about our first sponsor, The Low Road to Moral Success. It's a podcast run, operated, and hosted by my good friend Leonard F. Chikarsson, his good friend, former independent professional wrestler Vin Gerard. Just two dudes sitting on a couch, talking wrestling, bowling, so much more. Check them out, networkingthecrowd.com, or on iTunes, at The Low Road to Moral Success. Type it in and it'll send you right to it. Thanks to them for sponsoring. But after this song ends, we talk about the British Bulldog's ridiculous haircut. Rob, when did you start watching wrestling?
Oh man, when didn't I? That doesn't make sense, does it? I was, when I was 5, so 86.
Sorry.
How old were you? Were you alive in 86?
I was not alive. I was alive a year later. I started watching in 90, I believe. I was 3. I remember the British Bulldog had those sweet braids.
Oh yeah.
And I was totally into anyone with an animal.
He went with the Rastafarian British look that's so popular nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Rastafarian steroid look, which, yeah.
And now he's dead.
Yeah, like almost every other wrestler from that time. It's so depressing watching, like, you pop in like a WrestleMania DVD from around that time, and
right.
The body count is ridiculous.
Right. The Royal Rumble is just like an memoriam of just everyone who's died. I feel like the timer should be going the other way.
Oh, like the Rumble 92, the one, the Flair one. It's like Ric Flair fighting a bunch of zombies, one
right.
by one.
It's a remake of Dawn of the Dead.
Okay, so 86. Were you a good NWA guy? Were you a WWF kid?
I started out in WWF because, Hogan, Savage was there. And then, that was most of the 80s. And then when the 90s hit, and Monday nights became the big thing, I watched WWF, but I was bigger into WCW, which, is the opposite of what most of my friends did during that time.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good.
I was just gonna say I find people who like picked sides during that whole Monday night thing. I couldn't pick a side. Like, I was the kid who drove my mom nuts, flipping the channels through like every other minute. Like, oh, the Godwins are on TV. I gotta go see what the Horsemen are doing.
Right.
Wait, it's Sergeant Craig Pitbull Pittman. Gotta switch back.
Well, that was so great. I mean, that was, pre-internet. So I had raw recording in my room on, this VHS tape that I would tape over every week. And then I would turn off the VCR settings so I could watch Nitro live. And it was great, man. It was like 4 hours of wrestling instead of 2. It was awesome.
Oh, it was the best time to be a wrestling fan because there was so much. And then it just kept growing and growing. Like Thunder came along and then SmackDown. And the next thing you know, every hour of the day there was wrestling on somehow.
Well, what I thought was so great is around like 95, 96, internet wasn't as big, so there wasn't a nonstop stream of spoilers on everything. So you really didn't know who was going to show up, on what show, and that's what made it so exciting. And I think that's it. Of course, the Attitude Era and everything like that ending kind of caused a decline in popularity, but when there wasn't that rivalry anymore, it just, I don't know, it kind of lost a little bit to me. I don't keep up with it like I used to because it doesn't have that, all right, who's going to jump sides this week? Who's going to go to the NWO? Who's going to do this? And, it just kind of lost that excitement. I don't know.
It seems like the second WWE lost competition, it's like they didn't have to try as hard. It's like, playing, just practicing, by yourself playing basketball as opposed to, playing against somebody else.
Exactly.
So yeah, they don't have to try as hard. So whatever can be on TV, and every time you hear, Vince or Stephanie do one of those press interviews, they talk about how, our competition isn't wrestling. Our competition is whatever else is on Monday nights, when you can tell that's a big load of crap considering, again, the effort isn't there. Cause, back in like 98, you saw, if you had, let's say 8 to 12 segments, you saw 87 different things going on.
Oh, absolutely.
And, say what you will about, storylines going way too fast, but it was still, you could not take your eyes off the TV. Like, it got to the point where, like, I remember, like, early 98, Rick Martel, the model, shows up on Nitro, and that was a big deal. Whereas now, if, a legitimate big star shows up on Raw, it's a big deal for like 10 hours. And then, like you said, the internet's there, and it's feeding so much that the news kind of doesn't become, it isn't news anymore after about 12 hours. Whereas before, Jim Neidhart is on Nitro, that's all you talk about at school that week.
Right, exactly. Well, that's what made the NWO so great when that started, because, maybe I was just stupid and a kid, but like when Scott Hall showed up on that first Monday night, it was like, oh my God, are we allowed to do this? Is this legal? It was so great. And the build up to who, this is what they don't really do anymore. The build up to who the third member of the NWO was going to be was like all we talked about for weeks, just trying to figure out who that is. I even remember back, I think it was early 90s, when Sting had a feud with the Black Scorpion. Do you remember that?
Yes. Oh, yes. And like 87 million guys ended up under the mask before they eventually unmasked it. It's somehow Ric Flair, who, like, if you watch back, like months back, Ric Flair and the Black Scorpion are on the screen at the same time, and it doesn't make sense. It's pro wrestling.
He also did magic.
Yes, he like made a kid disappear. I think someone got eaten by a tiger, maybe.
And it was just Ole Anderson talking. Like, Ole Anderson did every voice of any mystery character. Ole Anderson also did the Shockmaster.
Yes. And I think it might have been like the same like voice distorter deal.
Exactly the same voice.
And to think Sting, or the heels at the time, Sid Vicious, and them didn't know who was under the mask.
Right.
So he stumbled out and the mask came off. And
the things we justified, or still do, are so ridiculous. Like, when the Black Scorpion ran backstage, he didn't vanish. He was back in a locker room with all the other guys. Someone's going to see him and be like, hey, take your mask off.
Oh, the best are like, do you remember the lethal lotteries they would do, where like where you would have like the random draw tag teams, and then they would go into a battle royal at the end of the night. Like,
those are great.
They would do like the babyface locker room and the heel locker room, and they're just all sitting around together, and you got like the Little Richard impersonator, and you got the Shockmaster, and Heavy Metal Van Hammer. They're just all coexisting.
Yeah, I like the concept that as soon as you, like, no matter what you've done to these other guys, as soon as you say, you know what, I'm going to fight a bad guy now, every good guy is on your side. You know what I mean? It's like, well, he's good now. Let's be friends.
Like, it's a theme that's even like going today. Like, The Miz was like a top bad guy for years in the WWE. It was literally one day he decided, hey, I'm going to fight you, Heath Slater. And now all the good guys are his friends, even though he's beat them all up.
Is that how the world works? Is that how it works? Maybe I don't know.
Apparently. And it's actually a very good like theme to be teaching kids, other than the whole fighting thing. And to just forgive people. And eventually you go on to fight three guys who look like bad Axl Rose impersonators together.
That's what happens. It's so funny that you mentioned Van Hammer. He came to my school. I grew up in southeastern Kentucky, in the middle of nowhere. And he came to my school and did an assembly talking about not doing drugs. And now
oh my goodness, the irony.
Just painful ironic. Is he out of drugs, or is he still?
Yeah. Have you ever? Okay, there's a video on YouTube. He decided to go into like song miming.
Oh god!
Like there's that Nickelback song "Rock Stars."
Right.
There's a video of him miming the song in like his bedroom. And the best part is it's like right after the Benoit suicides, and there's a line in the song about like hanging yourself or something. Right. And you see him like doing like this over the top comical, like put his neck in a noose and hang himself. And then he laughs at it. I have he ended up doing some stand up, I guess, a couple years ago in like the Maryland area. I had a friend who met him at a gig, and he's like the nicest guy. I guess he's the first guy that'll tell you that he didn't think he was very good. So
that's cool. You got to respect somebody who's self-aware. You know,
exactly. Like that automatically upped him like 10 cool points. Right. Like the fact that he realized, oh hey, only reason I was on TV is because I look like I'm about ready to explode.
Well, I was watching one of the Breaking Caveman videos that are on YouTube, and I think you can buy them or whatever, with New Jack. Did you ever watch ECW?
Oh yeah, like I being in Indiana, it was kind of hard to like watch the TV like early on, but once it was on TNN, like I remember skipping my grandma's Christmas party one year because Mike Awesome was going to wrestle Masato Tanaka for the ECW title.
Before that, it was so difficult to get. I would be on with my external 28.8 BPS modem on my Packard Bell computer, trading tapes of ECW matches with other guys online, just to be able to see them. It was just so cool doing it. But it was funny. I saw one of those interviews with New Jack, and they asked him what his favorite move was, and he was like, "I didn't have any moves." He goes, "I don't know how to wrestle." He said, "I just hit people with things. That's all I did." You got to respect the guy.
Absolutely. And New Jack interviews on YouTube are the best because he's not afraid to just say whatever. New Jack, did you kill that guy? Yes, I murdered a guy.
Yeah, when you saw the match when, I can't remember what pay-per-view it is. I have all their pay-per-views, which is the greatest purchase I ever made. But, there's one where he's throwing, who's the guy that landed on his head?
Vic Grimes.
Yeah. He was throwing him off, the scaffolding, and he lands directly on his head, and it's just the worst thing you've ever seen. And, they were asking him about the match in Japan. Did you see that one after That happened when he tried to kill Vic Grimes.
Oh yeah, the XPW match, or like we were up on a scaffold, I think, and they had like a bunch of tables, and New Jack's just like, nope, avoid the tables at all costs.
Yeah, he throws him 5 feet past. He hits the ropes like Owen Hart, and just ping pongs down to the floor. It's the worst thing ever. But they asked him about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I was trying to kill him. Absolutely."
And the worst part about that, funny you mentioned Owen Hart, is like forever online, like around that time for like the next 3 or 4 years, like whatever primitive video was going on before YouTube, you would see, or like on like LimeWire or Napster. Not that I'm promoting piracy, kids, but you would see like labeled Owen Hart death video,
Right.
and it would be the Vic Grimes video because teenagers on the internet are stupid.
Yeah. Is that the Owen Hart video is nowhere online, is it?
Supposedly it's been like destroyed. Like the one copy WWE had has been mutilated because it never aired on pay-per-view. Because
it wasn't during the match, was it?
No, it was during Owen's entrance. Like I guess the deal was he was supposed to lower down, and then about 6 or 8 feet above the ring, his harness was supposed to like give way to where like he just take the little comedy fall, haha, this guy's stupid.
Right.
And instead, I don't know if he like punched the button that would release the harness, but he just plopped. Because I
awful.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being in the building that night. Like being like a fan and having to like, now we're going to send another match out. How do I enjoy this Nicole Bass match? A, because Nicole Bass is in it, and B, because a guy just died.
Well, imagine being the wrestlers that had to wrestle after that.
And like from what I've heard, like there was a dent in the ring the rest of the night where his body was.
Oh my god!
So it's not like you could ignore it. Like they're taking bumps right by where the man died.
And what a terrible outfit to be wearing as you died.
Oh, like the worst. And not only that, but the worst name to have to go under when all these late night talk show hosts.
Right.
I remember Craig Kilborn made this horrible joke. It was like, Blue Blazer died this week, and in other news, the Green Sports Code is wrestling at WrestleMania. Something like that. And like wrestling fans flipped.
That's terrible.
The wrestling fans flipping out on the internet's obviously, yeah. But
I'm just going Sting and never fell out of the rafters during the row period.
And like they did the Sting stuff afterwards. Like that was almost like kind of appalling that 6 months after Owen dies, here comes Sting down the rafters. Like how could you do that in good conscience?
Were you a Sting fan?
I was, like, when I was little. Like, I remember, like, I got into wrestling around the time that, Sting was the dude in WCW and Hogan was the dude in WWF. And, like, my friends were all into Hogan and yada yada. And I was the Sting fan. It was kind of like, going to school and being like, oh, well, I liked R.E.M. back their first album, Like, I had a friend who...
Your friends are listening to Nirvana and you're listening to Counting Crows.
Exactly. Like I had a friend who had like WWF sneakers with like Warrior and Hogan and someone else on the side. And I remember they fell asleep like some nap time recess deal. And I sat there with a marker and I like drew a mustache on Hogan's face and I X'd out Warrior's face. And my mom ended up having to pay the kid's mom like $30, whatever it was for the sneakers.
Right.
And then there was another time where this kid was telling me, "Oh, you don't like Hulk Hogan? That means that you're not American." And for the next week at school, I had to argue my Canadian citizenship because his argument was Sting speaks English and he's white, therefore he's from Canada.
Sure.
It made all the sense in the world.
I heard. I don't know if you ever watched the roundtables they did.
Oh, the ones on the on-demand service they had.
Yeah. I can't remember which one it is, but they were talking about, different guys who went over well with fans and, some gimmicks that worked and didn't work. And all of them bashed tremendously what terrible wrestlers Sting and Lex Luger were. Like that they were just completely untalented, didn't deserve the breaks they got. Just went on and on and on about that. And I guess with Luger, I could kind of see that, because he wasn't in the ring. He wasn't anything tremendous. But the Sting part really, really surprised me.
Well, that part of that's also, you win the war, you get to rewrite history. And so Sting never came. I'm sure there's some sort of bitterness there because he's the one guy they couldn't do like the big dream matches with. Like right. Even dating back like a couple years ago when they were airing those cryptic videos for The Undertaker, the right. internet went nuts. Oh, Sting's coming, yada yada. And right. Thinking that Sting's not 40-something years old and looks like 40-something years old. But no, like Sting was excellent. Like at a point, like I remember Sting and Vader had an amazing series of matches in the early '90s. And Luger, there was a point where he was decent, but that was also like late '80s, early '90s. Because
very much like he demanded a lot of things, and was just very a diva, I guess, in how he handled himself, which I can see that.
Yeah, like he's a guy I've always heard he didn't like love wrestling coming into it. He was a guy who was told, hey, you would look good in tights. You could probably make a lot of money doing this. And he just happened to, everyone at every level thought he would be the next Hogan. And so he just kind of got moved up and further. And yeah, there were a couple years where he would improve. I remember there's a Ricky Steamboat match from like early in his NWA WCW run. It's really, really good. But like around the time he jumped to the WWF, I think finally got in his head, hey, I don't have to try so hard because I look like an action figure.
Well, Ricky Steamboat would make anybody better than that.
True.
You match with it was with him and Randy Savage that I think it went to a time on a draw. But my God, it was I've never seen two guys work that hard in a match. It was crazy.
Yeah, the Steamboat Savage stuff, like everyone remembers WrestleMania 3, obviously. That's the big one, where they decided to have the craziest match imaginable for that, especially considering the main event was like Hogan Andre, where they were moving at the pace of, a dead car.
Sure.
But like when they released the Savage DVD a couple years ago, they threw a house show match that those two had from like 2 years before or something, and it was just as good. I just always remember the story being Steamboat was the type of wrestler he wanted to do it like jazz. You just kind of go out there and improvise, do whatever. Whereas Savage was very much this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D. And I think I even heard Steamboat did some interview somewhere. I saw it on YouTube where he told the story that for like the 6 months leading up to Mania, Savage had the whole match planned out, and he like pretty much gave it in a notebook to Steamboat. This is what we're doing. And then like they would be at airports or they would have some sort of downtime, and Savage would quiz them on it like they were in school. Like what spot comes after the flying axe handle? And like I could totally see Randy Savage like with the freaked out hair, the bandana, sitting writing in a notebook. Like I guess that's why him and DDP had such good chemistry, is because
they really did.
Because you would always hear DDP was the exact same way.
Did you like him? Were you a fan of him?
I was to a point, like around 99, 2000, when he decided to like bite all of the Rock stuff, kind of tuned out. I actually really liked, and this is something most people dump on, but his WWF run after the WCW deal, where he was the life coach. I thought that was great stuff. Like I remember they did a skit with some girl bent over, and you could pretty much see everything going on down there, and then his head pops up, and I remember I was live at that Raw. And I remember the entire building breaking out into laughter. And it worked. Unfortunately, Paige's body couldn't hold up.
Oh, no, not at all. I remember, speaking of attending one, I used to go to a lot of Nitros, I think I went to a Starrcade and a couple of Raws. But we went to a Nitro with some friends of mine, and we were like, we need to do something to get on TV. We have to do whatever we can to get something on TV, a sign, something. So we're sitting like second balcony up, we're just forever up. And my friend was like, let's walk down, because we were trying to, this is horrible now looking back, we were trying to throw golf balls down onto the announcer's table where Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan were. Just trying to bounce one off. I mean, that's a terrible idea, but we can be like, oh, hey, there's the golf ball that we threw. Well, it wasn't working. So my friend and I went down to ringside, and he goes, okay, I'll be the lookout for you. You throw one into the ring, and we'll walk off. And then tonight, when we get back, we'll watch and be like, hey, tell all my friends, there's the golf ball. Like, that's such a great brag. So he was like, all right, when I tell you to do it, do it. So we're like 50 feet away. I have to throw this, kind of hard to get in there. And I was not a troublemaking kid by any means. Let me stress that point. But I throw this multicolored putt-putt tennis ball into the ring, and I just hear the crowd go, oh! And my friend's like, go, 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 leave right now. Oh, my God. So I have no idea what happens, because as soon as I threw it, I started walking the other way. He goes into the bathroom and starts throwing all these golf balls away, like scrubbing evidence, like the first 10 minutes of Law and Order SVU. And so I'm like, what happened? And he goes, I think you killed the referee. And I was like, are you kidding me? So we watched the video, get back to the hotel, and I threw this golf ball. Randy Anderson is the referee. He's down counting. When he gets to like 1.5, a golf ball hits him in the head and knocks him over. And the announcers go, well, apparently referee Pee Wee Anderson called an inadvertent elbow. And I'm like, he called an elbow for his own?
Oh,
and
my goodness.
I felt so badly. After the event was over, we were outside, and I saw a car driving by with its emergency flashers on. And Randy Anderson's in the passenger seat with an ice bag on his head. And I was like, I need to find some way to apologize to him without going to jail. So that was my encounter with referee Randy Anderson.
Oh my! I believe I might actually remember this. Because those referees got screwed with a lot on Nitro.
Oh yeah,
there were a good number of fans jumping the rails, so the referees would have to fight them.
Oh yeah.
I think Mark Curtis even got like a reputation as like a little shooter, because where a fan would run in and little 5'2", 200-nothing-pound Mark Curtis would put him in the front face lock, choke him out. Randy Anderson took that obviously to his grave. Poor guy. Actually, last year was the 10-year anniversary of his death.
Did he die?
Yeah, he died of, I believe it was cancer.
Did I cause it?
Probably. Good job.
That's...
they did like a storyline around it at the time. When the NWO was running rampant, they did a deal where Eric Bischoff fired him because he had cancer.
Are you serious?
Yes. And then, they brought his kids on the set to beg for his job back, and Bischoff got down in their faces and said, no, your dad has cancer.
The storylines got so bad. David Arquette became champion. Just what was happening in that company?
They were just grabbing for anything that could get them attention. Gary Coleman. Did you ever see the angle Gary Coleman did on Nitro?
I did not.
Oh my god. Okay. So he was out with, he was out with Mike Awesome, because Mike Awesome went from badass, mullet, musclehead ECW champion to the 70s guy. Came out with the Parisian jumps, leisure suits and such, and, he had Gary Coleman with him, because Apparently that was a thing to do.
Sure.
And Coleman was wearing this baseball cap that looked like he had a horn underneath his head. Unexplained, no reason why he was wearing the baseball cap. Jeff Jarrett comes out, hits him with the guitar, and as soon as the guitar hits his head, you see a roll of toilet paper fly in the air out of the hat.
Out of Gary Coleman's?
Out of Gary Coleman's hat. He put it in his hat to protect him from the guitar. and like, Jarrett would be the first guy to tell you, that thing's pretty much just made of paper. But he was afraid the wrestler was going to shoot on him. Because Gary Coleman's reputation is apparently as such.
That's so funny. I think it's more funny that he thought a roll of toilet paper would be a cushion from a guitar smash.
And it's not like he even thought, hey, this thing that's blatantly sticking out of my head is going to fall out the second I fall over.
Right.
And they had a thing for black midgets, because like Beetlejuice was a character from the Howard Stern Whack Pack. He was a regular on the show for a while, so apparently Vince Russo was into that black little person.
I always thought it was funny that they said it was, it's such a big deal if they throw somebody through a table. But if you really think about it, if you're throwing somebody from high up, that table is just cushioning the fall the whole way down,
Exactly. Like, and I remember the Public Enemy brought the double-decker table. And it's like, that just, you're literally not falling, because it's at the same height as the top rope.
Right.
So you're just, kind of laying down, and then, whatever. And the flaming tables were the best, because, they were kind of hot, and if you were an idiot, you caught on fire, but if you think about it, the table, the fire softens the table. So.
Exactly.
Oh. So one thing I did want to bring up is you put out a tweet. Technically yesterday, as we're recording, it'll be a week from it'll be last week when we release this. Wanting the United States of America to recognize Macho Man Randy Savage Day.
Yes.
And if you want to give your plea now as to why our government should take this into consideration.
Well, the White House now set up a thing to where if any citizen has a petition that they would like to bring before the White House or the president, you can post it online, and if you get a certain amount of signatures, the White House will address it, and Obama will address this topic. So I was trying to think of something that I was passionate about and, cared about enough that people would get behind. And what better thing than making May 20th, the day Macho Man Randy Savage died, to be National Macho Man Randy Savage Day. It's not a joke. I mean, it's fun because everybody loves him. But I think that would be so great. I mean, who wouldn't enjoy National Macho Man Randy Savage Day? We're getting quite a bit of signatures already. I think it needs 100,000 in a month, which wouldn't be a big deal. However, to sign the petition, you have to register, check your email, all this, several steps in order to sign it. But I'm hoping it gets enough traction to where, they at least consider something like that. I think it would be great.
Oh, it'd be wonderful. And like, the thing about Randy Savage is his scope isn't just like wrestling fans.
No.
Like when he died, like everyone went nuts.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he's uniquely, I also want to say uniquely America. Like a celebrity like Randy Savage, I don't know if could exist anywhere else.
Oh, no, not at all. I heard a great story about him. I was, oddly enough, at lunch with Weird Al the other day, and we were talking about Macho Man, and he said that Weird Al had a show in the 90s. It was a kid's show on Saturday mornings. It lasted a very short time, but they brought in Macho Man for a segment, and in the segment, Macho Man was going to come out for a match, and he was going to wrestle and be defeated by a hamster. And Macho Man was like, I don't know about this. I don't know about losing to a hamster. And so they had to explain to him that that's what's funny about it, because obviously a hamster would never defeat you in a wrestling match. So they went on and on about it. And finally he was like, all right, I'll do it. But it's not a girl hamster, right? That was the big selling point. Make sure it's not a girl hamster that beats me.
Oh, that's fantastic. It just speaks volumes for the ego of the professional wrestler.
Oh, yes.
Like, you hear a million stories, oh, I won't lose to that guy.
Oh, you're right.
Like, it's pretty much well established at this point that everyone with a pulse knows it isn't real.
Right.
So, unless you go to certain parts of, the deep, deep South where, but by the way, that's the most fun to watch if you're ever alone, 2 a.m., got nothing to do on YouTube. Just looking up like these little tiny independent wrestling shows where people still think it's real.
Oh, I attended those in Kentucky. Smoky Mountain Wrestling was what we did once a month because it came to town, and that's where the gangsters got their start. New Jack, all those guys. That's where Kane got his start as the Unabomber. Chris Candido was there. All these guys.
Al Snow was with Unabomber, I believe.
The best was they wanted the gangsters. I mean, you're in very redneck racist areas to be as big a heels as possible. So, one of their first big interviews, Jim Cornette ran it, and he told New Jack, he was like, go out there and say something that'll really piss off white people. And he's like, oh man, I don't know if I feel okay doing that. And he's like, say something about OJ. Because this is during the OJ trial. And he was like, are you sure you want to say something about OJ? And he's like, yeah, it'll be great. So he goes out and he does his interview. And he's like, and one last thing, I want to give a big shout out to my boy OJ. 2 less white people to worry about. And they just wanted to murder him. I mean, yeah, I don't know how he made it back to his hotel without getting just destroyed. But yeah, man, a lot of those guys get their start in the local high school gymnasium where I grew up wrestling for, 150 white trash rednecks.
Oh, it's the best. For a while they were running little independent shows, like literally down the street from my house in this town in Indiana called Crawfordsville, which claim to fame, the Ultimate Warrior lived there for like 2 years, which led to when we were moving to Crawfordsville, every realtor we would go through, every house we would look at, they would say, the Warrior lived here. Isn't that cool?
That's correct.
But, you bring up Smoky Mountain, Ricky Morton came through. It was billed as the Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah,
but Robert Gibson wasn't there though, because at the time they were having some sort of spat over, I want 60% of the 8x10 sales or whatever. So they brought along Chris Hamrick, who was in ECW for a bit towards the end. It was Ricky and Chris Hamrick, and I remember Hamrick was selling like Xerox copies of personal photos he had taken like backstage when he was doing a tryout at like Raw or something. Because you would have like, Steve Austin on a pair of Zubaz not realizing that the camera was there. A selfie. My favorite story though, and I'm not going to mention specific ages because it could incriminate Ricky Morton, but there was a girl it was in my class. I'm not going to mention how old I was, just saying this is horribly inappropriate. She was one of those girls that became a woman very quickly, let's just say that. Remember about halfway through the main event, the Rock and Roll Express against this team called the Cold Brothers, who were like straight up gangsta rip-offs. Yeah. And one of them, his first name was Stone. In the year 2000, after Steve Austin had gone nuclear, Stone Cold. But she had disappeared to the parking lot, during the match. And like, we're all heading out. I think I bought a copy of like the Flair Steamboat, one of their NWA matches from some vendor at the show. And as I'm heading out, there's a car pulled up to like right across from the front door, and like the lights are on, and the driver's side front door is open, and you see Ricky Morton leaning back, and like walking closer, and you see a blonde hair bobbing up and down. And Ricky doesn't realize the fans have been like let out by this point, that there are still fans around. But like we're walking around and get closer to realize it's this girl.
Is that really the type of quote unquote celebrities you want to go after?
Exactly. It's Indiana. We're desperate for something. But no, the best part is Ricky realizes that there are fans around, and instead of like trying to like, you know, get her in the car, stop her or whatever, he shuts the door on her head to hide it. Yeah. And then I remember I had a friend who like stuck around because he just really wanted Ricky Morton's autograph real bad. He stuck around long enough to apparently watch this conclude. He sends her on her way, and Ricky pulling his pants up, putting this thing in his pants, does not lose a step, opens his trunk, pulls out an 8x10, sells it for $10 for this kid.
That's great.
That's the Carney's lovely magic of professional wrestling right there, wrapped up.
Well, that story's great to me because I had a actual size cardboard cutout of the Rock and Roll Express on my wall for several years. This is pre-Fatheads.
Oh my!
This was just cardboard cutouts of the Rock and Roll Express.
Did they look anything like that photo you had on your Twitter account for a while of them looking like?
That was almost exactly the picture. Had to be the same photo shoot.
Oh my goodness! Like the best thing about the Rock and Roll Express is they have never not taken a picture that's absolutely hilarious.
Oh,
like,
no.
Like there was a period like Robert Gibson had a mustache.
Yes.
You could not find a sleazier looking human being. Like with the eye going one way and all the weird body hair.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody mentioned his eye, but yes.
Yes. Like him and Shawn Michaels both, they could be staring right at each other and catch a thief. But no, yeah, the Rock and like just the 80s wrestling in general, like pictures of it are so interesting because every single guy you look at it, it's like if that guy wasn't in a ring, he would be in jail right now for something horrible.
Oh yeah.
Like
it was a different time.
Like the pretty guys would probably be like male prostitutes, and you know, Nikita Koloff would probably be in jail for robbing a bank, and
right.
Just up and down the line. I don't think there was one upstanding person in wrestling. Maybe Tito Santana. Maybe.
Yeah.
I can
see him being a good guy.
Absolutely. Going back to, you know, going to Smoky Mountain shows, are there ever, like, obviously there were any stories of like really weird fans you got to like run into and experience? Cause that's what these independent shows are great for. Just weirdos and people you only see at wrestling shows.
Unfortunately, I think I was one of them. We used to, my friends and I, try to get the wrestlers to yell at us. I remember Chris Candido spit on me one time. That was gross. But we would just try to instigate these guys and get them going, which is really dumb because as soon as it was over, we would go ask for their autographs. So that probably wasn't the best order of attack. But Chris Jericho was there for a while. I remember just annoying the living hell out of Chris Jericho at one of those little shows. But yeah, man, those are fun. I didn't realize how great those were until years later. But those were awesome.
Yeah, so were you guys like the heel fans amongst like this crew of fans that still thought it was all real?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because like Jericho was like pretty boy, you know, come on everybody, love me type of pandering babyface good guy at the time. So
he was with Lance Storm.
Yes, Lance Storm. Did he have the rat tail at that point?
I don't ever think he didn't have the rat tail.
Oh my goodness. I know he doesn't now because I saw a picture of him recently. He looks just like Henry Rollins.
That's hilarious.
Like, I think he even tweeted about it. Someone sent him a tweet like, hey, I loved it when you were MMA fighter Mirko Krokop. And he's like, no, I do spoken word poetry now. Sorry.
I haven't gotten a lot of replies from wrestlers on Twitter. One time I tweeted a picture and said, does anyone know how much this is worth at Cash for Gold? And it was a picture of Gold Dust. And he retweeted it and added some comment about it being priceless or something like that, which I thought was very funny because I didn't tag him in that. So I have no idea how he found it. And then I think the only other guy who's ever responded was the Blue Meanie, which he was great. I loved him back in the day.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. He was great.
I was just going to say that, like, Twitter has kind of, like, exposed what wrestlers have way too much time on their hands.
Right.
Like, I know Goldust is a big one. Like you said, he responded to something, you didn't even tag him. And, like, if you go on his Twitter, it's, like, you see all these, like, at replies, and then you look at the time, 4 minutes ago, 4 minutes ago, 4 minutes ago. I think Rikishi's another one that, like, he'll just follow anybody, you know, in particular. Like, I have a friend who doesn't even watch wrestling, but he mentioned, fat wrestler in a thong once on Twitter, and Rikishi followed him.
Like, you use very specific things for that.
Like, you gotta think Rikishi's Google alerts are ridiculous.
Right.
I know Meanie, like, I haven't really interacted with him a lot. He just seems like a guy that's constantly on it. Not like a desperate way like Goldust, but like, he's just constantly on Twitter. And then Matt Hardy is another one where it seems like and his fans, I was listening to some radio show he was on a couple weeks ago, and like, his fans it is like he's a deity. Like, there was a girl that called in and like, I was gonna kill myself, and then I saw you on a YouTube video eating grapes, and it inspired me, and whatever floats your boat.
Sure. So they can go for it.
Yeah. And, man, Matt Hardy's I hate to call him a sad human being, but at one time, like, every girl, like, below, like, the Mason-Dixon line wanted to get with Matt Hardy, and now he kinda looks like their mom.
That's hilarious.
Like, there's nothing about Matt Hardy that you look at him now and it isn't like, man, like 10 years ago you were the shit. Now, you know, you're still wearing Jinkos. That's something.
Jinkos. I had no problem with Jinkos back in the day. Now, not so much.
Yeah, Jinkos and FUBU and all that stuff that Hulk Hogan wore once he joined the Wolfpack.
Right.
Which, that brings me to another question I had. On your Twitter bio, it says NWO for life. So I want to ask you, Hollywood or Wolfpack?
To me, there's only one. It was the original three. Once it expanded beyond that, I don't consider that NWO. It's Hogan, Hall, and Nash. That's it.
So you're like
that's the real NWO.
So you're like the DLR fan of wrestling. Like, that Van Hagar stuff doesn't count.
Oh yeah, exactly. The purist.
Yeah. Like, though I gotta say, I will argue the best member of the NWO was Vincent, and here's why. Whenever Hogan was, you know, in any sort of danger, he was the first guy down the ramp.
Right.
Every time, without fail. And he would take his weapon. Even today, like, I heard indie shows, he still tells people that he's a member of the NWO, and Hogan's gonna call him one of these days, and they're gonna reunite.
Have you, you've read the stories of people running into him?
Oh, the Deadspin stuff. Oh my goodness. It's
sad.
Did you hear that he's like panhandling now, using his,
so sad.
Yeah, like the picture of him, like it was kind of funny, like at the conventions and stuff. And then you see the photo of him in the subway in New York, literally panhandling with his table and his banner, and now it's just, you feel horrible for the guy.
Yeah, it's just sad.
Yeah, like I went to a Chicago con a few years ago, and I remember Grandmaster Sexay was there, and like outside of the hotel before he went to sign, he was throwing this major baby fit because they didn't get him a limo and they didn't get him this and this and that, and he looks at another adult dead in the eye, and he goes, "I am Grandmaster Sexay. I deserve better." That's pro wrestling in a nutshell. And then he goes at the convention, he has like an ECW title belt signing like on, and then he's gonna give it away for like $300. But I guess it's like some nerd called him out on it, and he's like, "Yeah, I was ECW champion in like 1990 and all this awesome bull crap that he spouted."
Did he ever have that title?
No, he was. If he was ever in ECW, it was like a one-shot deal when his dad was there for like the little bit during the the WWF ECW.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
No, Lawler, Lawler was there. He did the deal. Like, they did the big deal after Raven left. The angle literally afterwards where he legit busted open one of Tommy Dreamer's testicles. And then, I don't think Brian Christopher was ever there.
Yeah, Lawler was great there, and so was Dusty Rhodes when he came in.
Yeah, like Carino always seemed like he was the biggest Dusty mark in the world, so biggest Dusty Rhodes fan. So getting to work with him, especially there, like Dusty seemed to get it. Like most guys, like from that era, you would think wouldn't get ECW. Dusty totally got it, and it was fun while he was there. He even made one of the video games.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, like it was weird because like he was like, even though he was only in ECW for like 3 months or whatever, like if you played like the hard championship mode, he was the boss.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, so he's world champion or forever or something like that. So I think we're gonna go ahead, and it's been awesome, but I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap up.
Appreciate it.
I would love to have you back on because it's obvious you've got a lot of background that I would love to delve into, the tape trading and, more Nitro stories and all that fun stuff.
I didn't kill any other refs, so that's my only one there.
No, though we might go ahead with that investigation on Randy Anderson's death. But if there's anything else you want to throw out there before we jump off the line, go ahead. The floor is yours.
No, that should be it. If we can get Macho Man Randy Savage Day going, I'm happy with that.
Awesome. And I'll go ahead, and when I throw this out, I'll go ahead and throw the link to the petition and such. Thank you very much once again. It's been...
Of course.
And once again, follow Rob on Twitter at RobFee. It's spelled exactly how you would imagine. And we'll talk again later. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much to Rob Fee for joining us on episode 1 of WrestleFolks. Make sure you sign that petition to make May 20th in America National Macho Man Randy Savage Day. The link should be wherever you found this podcast link to sign up. Some things going on my end. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at NotThatTomGreen. Also, follow my web series, Hey The Rock, I Have a Question, where I try to get The Rock to let me know about his poop. YouTube.com/Tom Has a Question. Go over there and subscribe today. Also, the wildly popular and successful Joe Gagne's Funtime Pro Wrestling Arcade. I do some of the editing over there. I do all the editing. Do some of the social media as well. YouTube.com/Mike and Tom Present. Go over there and subscribe. 40 episodes deep, all sorts of wrestling games. Pretty much all the big ones have been covered at this point, and we have more coming by the day. Also follow this show on Twitter at WrestleFolks, and like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/WrestleFolks. Easy enough. Next week, Pittsburgh area comic and writer Sean Collier will join us here on the show for some fun wrestling conversation outside the bubble. Again, thank you so much for joining us on this first episode of WrestleFolks, the podcast. We'll meet up next week. Maybe throw some golf balls at referees.